Hello, my name is Douglas, and welcome to another edition of Cooking by the Book. This series is where I run into our collection, I find a cookbook, and I try to make something from it to see if it works. Today we are working with the Veggie Chinese Takeout Cookbook by Kwoklyn Wan, as Chinese New Year is coming up. You don't need to know this, but I'm a snake. A snake is supposed to be rational and calm. I guess we'll check in with me at the end of this video. But don't worry, today's video is super easy, and this is also something that is going to rely on creating your own flavor profile and playing around with the recipe, which I find really fun. This is a congee, which is basically a Chinese porridge. It's rice and broth, and we're going to add a lot of things to spice it up and make it delicious. A lot of Chinese people eat this for breakfast with just a little soy sauce. I'm using some mushrooms, some baked tofu, and it's going to be very delightful by the end. So the first step is working with dried mushrooms. According to the recipe, they said reconstitute some dried mushrooms, so I thought let's go with the recipe. I found these at an Asian market. These are dried shiitakes, and so they are completely dry. I'm going to have to reconstitute them, so I need to get them back into their state of mushroomness. So the only thing that I need to do is I'm going to drop these into boiling water. I'm using 6 of them, and we are just going to let them cook for 15 minutes. And this should bring them back to life, or fungi life. So I'll be with you soon. Okay, so these shiitakes have, as you can see, regained their softness, so these are ready to go. I made this at home, and I also love fresh mushrooms, so I brought some fresh shiitakes. But remember, there are a lot of different kinds of mushrooms to try, so the congee itself is really simple. It's basically 14 cups of broth. I do warn you, if you're not spatial like I am, make sure you measure what size pot you need. Because if you start putting 14 cups of broth into a pot that's not the right size, you're going to be scrambling for another pot reasonably soon, which happened to me, and now I have my stock pot, which easily fits. I used a combination of 8 cups broth, 6 cups water, but a total of 14 cups. I'm going to bring this to a boil. I am only using 1 cup of long grain rice, and I'm going to throw that right in there. I'm also going to throw a little bit of ginger in there. I used a nice thumb-sized sliced ginger. This is actually pre-prepared ginger to make it a little easier on me, but you want a nice gingery flavor. I'm going to chop these up, and I'm also going to throw those in. And the nice thing about this recipe is I'm going to bring it to a boil, and I'm going to let it cook for an hour and a half. This is great because you can grab your favorite fiction novel, you can bring it to a boil, you can tell everyone that you're cooking, you can sit down, and you can just wait, which is my favorite part. But this is going to take a while, so when it's done, I will be back with the toppings. Now, the recipe that we're using, we're going to be placing some savory toppings on top of our congee. And the recipe just called for crispy tofu. And this is how I do it. I make it on my own, and I really like it, and it's super easy. I start with already baked tofu. This isn't the tofu that's in water, but it's sealed in a package, so it's already very firm. I cube it into very small pieces, roll it in a little bit of oil. I add Chinese 5-spice, and I get it nice and mixed up. Preheat the oven to 400. Place it all on parchment paper, add a little salt and pepper, stick it in the oven for about 25 minutes. And as you can see, it browns really nicely, it becomes crispy, and this is going to make a wonderful addition to our congee. And it's also going to add a little bit of protein, and it'll turn it into a really nice dinner. So this has been bubbling for an hour and a half, and it's amazing for my pores right now. I like to take mushroom dishes to parties because it proves that I'm a fun guy. I wanted to show you some of the toppings that we're going to add to our congee when it's done. I've got the baked tofu, which I had told you about earlier. It's very crispy. I've got some peanuts, I've got some scallions, a little bit of soy sauce, a little Chinese 5-spice, and a little sesame seeds. The book also has a recipe for a scallion pancake. You definitely need to check out the book to make that one. It's a little difficult. There's a challenge involved here that I was not expecting, but it's definitely worth it, and we're going to cut into that as we serve the congee. So we are ready to go. The next thing I just need to do is ladle it out and serve. And my congee got nice and thick. I probably could even cook it a little longer. It's got a nice consistency, almost a little bit like wallpaper paste. That's the kind of consistency you want, a nice thick porridge. When I made it at home, I used portobello mushrooms, the baby white buttons, so it was much lighter because of the trumpet and the shiitakes. This has got a wonderful brown, a dark brown, almost gravy-like color, and I can really smell the mushrooms coming from this. To top it, this is to taste, and you can use your imagination. These are the suggested toppings. I first just do a little bit of soy sauce right in there, just do that to taste. Little sprinkling of Chinese 5-spice, a little bit of my sesame seeds, a few pinches of my crispy tofu, some nice lightly salted dry roasted peanuts, and then finally, just to add a bit of color for the top, a little bit of green onions, and as you can see, it really kind of looks lovely if you get everything kind of centered in your bowl. Finally, I'm just going to cut into my scallion pancake and see if this has worked. And apparently it has. And I can just tuck that right into the side, and then you can have your guests ready to dig in. I hope you try to make this one. It was easy, it's delicious, it's great for a cold winter night, and definitely the Veggie Chinese Takeout Cookbook, I give that one a 2 thumbs up.